James Harden missed a floater and clapped in frustration. The Rockets' third quarter in Game 4 against the Timberwolves didn't get off to a great start. Harden's shooting had underwhelmed since Game 2. Then, Harden and Houston broke out of the funk in a big way. The Rockets outscored Minnesota 50-20 in the third quarter of their 119-100 victory last night, giving Houston a 3-1 lead in the first-round series. The 30-point margin in the third quarter was tied for the most lopsided playoff quarter in the shot clock era. Harden single-handedly outscored the Timberwolves himself 23-20. Paul added 15. The Rockets shot 5 of 10 on two-pointers, 9 of 13 on three-pointers and 13 of 13 on free throws. Houston committed no turnovers and offensively rebounded a third of its misses. It was incredible output, even for the NBA's best defense. The Rockets' 50 points were second most in a playoff quarter, and the most in a victory, in the shot clock era. The leaderboard, the rule in the NBA is clear and strictly enforced. Just ask Amari Stoudemire and the Suns. Leave the bench during an altercation and you get suspended for a game. Monday night, in the fourth quarter of the chippy game Monday where the Jazz beat the Thunder, Russell Westbrook was set to check into the game when there was a little dust-up between Rudy Gobert and Raymond Felton, and Westbrook came in and escalated it. Did he leave the bench, or was he coming into the game? And that's different. The NBA decided he was coming into the game already. Westbrook got a $10,000 fine and an after-the-fact technical, but no suspension. OKC needs Westbrook, and an aggressive Westbrook who is knocking down his mid-range shot, to have a chance to avoid elimination in Game 5 Wednesday. The Thunder have had their strengths turned against them, and have not shown the versatility to adjust in this series, and if Westbrook and company cannot change that Wednesday, their season will end. New York AP, the Brooklyn Nets have hired former NBA player and Argentine guard Pablo Prigioni as an assistant coach. The Nets also announced Tuesday that former Spurs center Thiago Splitter was hired as a pro scout. Prigioni spent most of his professional career in Spain and won a bronze medal with Argentina in the 2008 Olympics before coming to the New York Knicks in 2012 as a 35-year-old rookie. He spent 4 years in the NBA with the Knicks, Rockets and Clippers. Splitter helped San Antonio win the 2014 NBA championship before spending the final 2 seasons of his 7-year career with Atlanta and Philadelphia. The Nets said Splitter, who also played for Brazil's national team, will have added duties related to player on-court development. It's a series that has hinged on defense. Boston has played it well for the majority of 5 games, bottling up Milwaukee in the half-court. The Bucks only played it with real energy at home, and only for about 6 of the 8 quarters the last 2 games, but when they do they have overwhelmed the Celtics, then converted turnovers and missed shots into transition and early clock opportunities the other way. For Game 5 Tuesday night, Boston gets its best perimeter defender back, Marcus Smart. He has been out since before the playoffs following thumb surgery last March. Boston Celtics, at Celtics, April 24, 2018. Stevens, via NBC Sports Boston, he hasn't played in 6 weeks, so it's hard to say how much time he will get, but will certainly play. Stevens said there would not be a minutes restriction on him, but added that the fourth-year guard wasn't going to play 35 minutes. Smart is a very good perimeter defender, who is very physical and usually assigned to the other team's best guard, or wing, depending upon the matchup. When Smart was on the court this season, the Celtics allowed less than a point per possession and were 3.6 points per 100 better defensively than when he sat. Smart likely will get time against Eric Bledsoe and Chris Middleton of the Bucks. Just his presence brings needed depth to the Celtics in what is a critical Game 5 in a series tied 2-2. Last month, Anthony Davis said he heard DeMarcus Cousins plan to re-sign with the Pelicans. Cousins was out of torn Achilles, and New Orleans was rolling with Davis playing more center. But New Orleans' ceiling looked higher with Cousins, and Davis made clear he wanted to keep Cousins, in itself a big deal. More important than keeping Cousins is keeping Davis, which requires keeping Davis happy. Then, the Pelicans swept the Trailblazers, becoming the lowest seed to sweep a first-round series. Is everyone still sure Cousins warrants a max contract, which projects to be worth about $176 million over 5 years? Zach Lowe of ESPN, the Pelicans have broached internally the idea of offering Cousins a 2- or 3-year deal at less than the max, per sources familiar with the discussions. I would not expect that to go over well with Cousins' camp. But the Pelicans have the dual leverage of winning without Cousins and a tepid market for him. Only a half dozen or so teams have max-level space this season, and most won't pursue Cousins at that level, sources say. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pelicans leaked this to test the waters. Word will get back to Cousins, and they can gauge how strenuously he objects. If they want, they can deny ever considering this and try to avoid offending Cousins. But New Orleans has leverage. It will be a tight market. Many of the teams with significant cap space are young and rebuilding, and they won't want Cousins' attitude. Even teams ready to win might not bring him into the locker room. Returning from a torn Achilles, hard for any player, will be especially difficult for the 6'11", 270-pound Cousins. That said, Cousins has leverage on the Pelicans, too. He's extremely talented, and players that talented are hard to come by. New Orleans would still essentially be capped out if he walked, left with only the mid-level exception to replace him. Cousins and Davis play well together, and Davis, who can become an unrestricted free agent in 2020, wants Cousins around. Confronted with a similar situation with Jrue Holiday last summer, capped out and no mechanism to adequately replace him, the Pelicans spent big. Holiday wasn't hurt and didn't have any fit concerns with Davis. For New Orleans, it's clearly worth securing the 27-year-old Cousins for the next couple years. The upside is too high. But, especially given the injury, guaranteeing him money into his 30s is undesirable. On the flip side, Cousins should want long-term security. This might be his last chance to get it. So, maybe both the Pelicans and Cousins can meet in the middle. But finding that point is never simple.